Hi friends, welcome back. So today we are going to take a look at the Simplicity S9702. So this is a pattern that I just recently made for a Minerva sponsored fabric. So I will give a review of the fabric and also the pattern that I use for the fabric that I was sponsored by Minerva. I want to go ahead and thank Minerva for sponsoring this fabric and giving me the opportunity to sew with it and share what my experience is like with people in the sewing community. So I will be talking about the fabric first, and then I'll go ahead and get into the pattern review. So the fabric is this lovely, gorgeous sapphire fabric. It's called sapphire, and it has hints of blue. So it has light and medium blue tones in it, as well as green and also purple. I absolutely love this fabric. It is so gorgeous. You can get it in 3 other different colors. There's an autumn variation of this, a jewel, and an orchid. And I'll go ahead and put them here so you can see what they look like. And you can get an idea of the different fabrics that they offer in this particular, the print and the fabric colors that they offer in this particular print. So I will go ahead and put a link in my description box below to this fabric, and you can go over and look at more details about the fabric. The fabric is on a 59-inch wide fabric, and so it's very roomy. It's $15.99 in UK pounds, but in the United States, for the US dollar, that's somewhere around $20. I think, yeah, $20.77. And so it is quite on the high side, at least for me. I usually don't go over $15 a yard when I'm buying these fabrics. So again, I'm really grateful for Minerva for sponsoring me this fabric. And then also about the fabric, it's really drapey. It's a viscose challis fabric, and it is light to medium weight. So it is definitely for your summer and your early fall. So I'm really excited to wear this, and I'm going to share with you the pattern that I use and how my dress turned out. So the Simplicity S9702, it comes in 2 groups of sizes. So you can get, the first is the 8 to 16, and then the second group is the 18 to 26. I selected the size 18, which is a 45 inches for the bust and 66 inches for the waist, because it is this very loose, kind of like a muumuu style, which you all know I don't really like muumuu styles, but I decided to give this pattern a try because I've seen a couple of people sew it up and it looked absolutely gorgeous. So I decided I was going to go ahead and give it a try. Now, I will say this in terms of the sizing: for size 18 for the 45 inch for the bust, that gives me about 5 inches of ease. And again, it's supposed to be a muumuu style, so it's not really supposed to be close fitting. So 5 inches is really quite generous for this style of dress. So if you are somewhere in the 39 to 40 inches for your bust, like me, then 5 inches is all you need. So I found that to be really great and spot on for me. Now, in terms of the 66 inches for the waistline, obviously, because it is a muumuu style dress, it's not going to actually fit your waist. You're not using an elastic for your waistline or anything like that. There's no closures on your waist, no buttons, no zippers, no elastic. And so it does flow quite nicely. However, a lot of that is gathered in when you gather your top tier skirt and gather it and attach it to your empire waistline. So it's not going to be, that much, the 66 inches, you are gathering a lot of that in. So it's not an accurate measurement for your waistline. I would say it's somewhere maybe around 6 to 10 inches of ease that you're going to have in your waistline, which is really great and comfortable for me. So I really like that. And then for the bicep, for my girlies or those individuals who are sewing that often worry about the sleeve pattern, because the sleeve patterns are usually too narrow for people who have bigger biceps, I would definitely say choose view C. That's the variation that I chose. It's a wide pattern, and you're gathering a lot of that in, and it creates like this little bubble on your sleeve there, but you have a lot of room as well. So I'll talk more in details about that feature when I get to it. But let's first talk about the neckline and the empire waist. So the neckline is a very deep V. It's not very plunging, but it's somewhat deep. And so what I decided to do is I altered the front of the neckline, and instead of having it open as the pattern suggests you sew it, I decided to actually sew up that center front because you're cutting your bodice front piece out twice. And so I decided to create a seam in the center front. Now, if you decide to sew it straight out of the envelope as is, you're not going to have a seam, a center front seam in the front of your garment, and it's going to be open. So just keep that in mind. You do have facings that come with the pattern that actually close off the raw edges, and so you obviously don't have to worry about that. But if you want a center front seam, as I did, I would go from your seam allowance, so minus your seam allowance at the bottom of the front bodice, I would go about maybe an inch or an inch and a half up if you want to close up that area and not have any bust showing. So that's basically what I did, and I'll stand up so you can see what it looks like here. So I just closed that up, and I went up about an inch and a half so that it can close up. And I sewed it together. Again, the pattern does not suggest for you to do that, and so it will be open. It is an open style, but if you want to close that up, it's very easy to do, and you don't really have to alter your neckline or your facings or anything like that when you're doing that. So that's something that I decided to do. A change that I made, I only made one change to the pattern, which I'm really excited about. I did not have to do any other alterations or modifications besides fixing my neckline. And then also the Empire waist, I found it came up right underneath my breast area, and it just didn't sit comfortably for me. And so I lengthened that area by 2 inches. And so it dropped a little bit. Now, I actually lengthened the front area, and I graded down to nothing on the side because I didn't want to change the back. And so I just basically split the pattern open, and I adjusted it in that front center of the bodice. And obviously, as it tapers down, it's not going to be 2 inches all the way down. It's just going to go ahead and taper down to nothing. And so there's not much in terms of like change on the side here, but I just wanted it to change up here because it was just too high up on the bust instead of resting like right underneath the bust. When I sewed it straight out of the envelope. So I did a mock-up and I sewed it straight out of the envelope, and it just was way too high. So I made that modification and alteration. In terms of the skirt, I decided to make view B with the ruffle at the bottom there. And I did view C sleeve. So I have the shorter sleeve because I was only working with 3 yards of fabric. And speaking of fabric, let's look at the yardage and the suggestions. So for the suggested fabric, you have poplin, gauze, cotton blends, and linen. I decided to go with this viscose challis, even though it's drapier and it has a little bit more movability than the fabrics that's suggested here. You can definitely get away with it. It just depends on the structure and the type of fabric you want to use, but I would definitely say this is one that is kind of versatile as long as you stay in your light to medium weight fabrics. So really absolutely love my choice. And in terms of the yardage here, so view B here is calling for my size, the size 18, 3 yards of fabric. Now that is with the long sleeve. I did not do the long sleeve. And I will say that that is quite accurate because I didn't want to do the long sleeve because it was just too hot for the summer. And so I did the shorter variation, and I ended up having about maybe a little over a quarter of fabric left over. So I would definitely say 3 yards of fabric for view B is definitely going to help you make this project. You'll be able to finish this project with 3 yards of fabric. So that was nice and fun. I do want to actually make view C that has the, you have a double tier there. I do want to make that variation, but I just didn't have enough fabric, and that is calling for 4 yards of fabric. So I would have needed another yard at least. So I wasn't able to do that. Now on the back of the envelope, it's suggesting 60-inch wide fabric, and it doesn't call for any fabrics that's smaller than 60-inch wide. However, I have found that I did have a little bit of room left over after I put my pieces on the fold of the fabric. There was some room left over. I would say maybe, I don't know, anywhere between 5 and 7 inches maybe. And so you might be able to get away with a fabric that's smaller than 60 inches wide, but they're only suggesting 60 inches on the back of the envelope. That's just something to think about. For your notions, you only need your elastic, really, because that's the only thing that you're using for your fusible interfacing. Sorry. So yeah, your elastic and your fusible interfacing for your neckline. And so for view C, as you can tell, it has elastic in the sleeve here. Now it does call for bias binding, so if you want purchase bias binding to make your casing, you can definitely do that, but I just use fabric that I already had, some scrap fabric, and I made my casing, and I just put the elastic inside the casing there. So you could definitely do that. You don't have to purchase the bias binding, but that also would be a notion that you have to get if you don't want to make your own bias binding. So yeah, I absolutely love the way that this turned out. I'll go ahead and put some pictures here so you can see what it looks like. I will say that in the future, when I make this pattern, I feel like I would definitely add more width to my top tier skirt. So let me see if I can explain it better for you by standing up. So so this is your bodice piece here, and then this is the first skirt piece that goes attached to the Empire waist here. Now, as you can see here, there's not much in the way of ruffles. I'm hoping that you can see that if I'm standing back enough that you can see it. But there's not much in the way of gathers here, not ruffles, gathers. And so I would definitely increase the volume in that next time so I can get more evenly gathered gathers there. And so that I can increase it. But in these patterns, it's usually kind of like that sometimes with the with the gathers. Sometimes you have too much and sometimes you don't have enough. Now, in terms of the lower ruffle, the gathers on the lower ruffle was spot on. It was absolutely gorgeous. I'll put a video here so you can see what it looks like. It just has a lot of detail in the ruffle, and I absolutely love it. Now, this pattern does come with pockets, which I love. The next thing that I would do in the future, I would move my pocket bags up. I guess because I'm so short, I don't know, the placement on the pockets are quite low. And so I would definitely move those pockets up. So that's something that you probably want to watch out for as well. If you're short like me, you might need to move those pocket bags up a little bit, depending on if you're long in the waist or short in the waist. I'm very short in the waist, and so you might need to move those pocket bags up. That's it for today's video. I really had fun making this make. Thank you, Minerva, for sponsoring me the fabric. I will say, in terms of the fabric, it was a really great fabric. It didn't peel or anything. When I put it in the wash, I washed it and it just retained its color. It's so gorgeous. I didn't have any problems with the fabric snagging or anything like that, which was really nice. So I didn't have any tears or anything sewing the fabric, and I just felt like it was a really great project. I absolutely love this. This is going to be my favorite summer pattern and also my favorite summer dress. So with all of that said, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. If you're joining us for the first time, thank you for watching today's video, and I hope you consider subscribing to the channel if you find today's content enjoyable or any of the content on my channel on my channel enjoyable, I hope you consider subscribing to the channel. And for those of you who tune in week after week, thank you so much for supporting me. And I hope you all have a blessed and happy sewing week. And I can't wait to talk to you in the next video. Bye.